The cold waters of the Baltic Sea have never been purely a zone of peace. But in the opening days of 2026, they have become the front line of a new, silent form of global confrontation. As the world watches the dramatic geopolitical shifts in the Americas, particularly following the United States military intervention in Venezuela and the capture of Nicolás Maduro, a more subtle but equally dangerous conflict is unfolding beneath the waves of Northern Europe. For Sweden, a nation that has transitioned from centuries of neutrality to becoming a cornerstone of Northern European security, the recent sabotage of telecommunications cables between Liepāja and Finland has underscored a harsh reality. The security of the digital and energy infrastructure that sustains modern Swedish life can no longer be guaranteed by surface fleets or satellite surveillance alone. In this environment of gray zone warfare, where deniability is the primary weapon of the adversary, the Swedish Royal Navy is preparing to deploy its most sophisticated answer yet, the A26 Blekinge-class submarine. The strategic landscape of 2026 is defined by a recalibration of alliances and a renewed focus on domestic military self-reliance. With the United States government under President Trump pivoting its strategic attention toward the crisis in Caracas and signaling a significant reduction in direct military aid to Ukraine, the responsibility for maintaining the NATO lake in the Baltic has shifted squarely onto regional powers. Sweden has met this challenge with characteristic pragmatism and resolve. The government's announcement of an 18% increase in the defense budget for 2026, pushing total spending to 2.8% of the gross domestic product, represents the most significant expansion of Swedish military power since the height of the Cold War. A substantial portion of this funding, totaling approximately 9.6 billion Swedish krona, is dedicated specifically to the finalization of the A26 program at the Kockums Shipyard in Karlskrona. This investment is not merely about prestige. It is a calculated response to the realization that Sweden must possess the sovereign capability to monitor and defend its seabed. The Baltic Sea is a unique and punishing environment for naval operations, often described by submariners as a flooded meadow due to its shallow average depth of only 60 meters. For the massive nuclear-powered submarines of the Russian Northern Fleet, or even the United States Navy, these waters are treacherous and restrictive. However, for Sweden, the Baltic is a home field that has dictated a specific philosophy of naval architecture. The A26 Blekinge-class is the pinnacle of this evolution, designed to operate in the brackish, layered, and cluttered waters that render traditional sonar less effective. Unlike the Russian Project 677 Lada-class, which continues to struggle with its own propulsion consistency, the A26 utilizes a perfected iteration of the Stirling air-independent propulsion system. This technology allows the submarine to remain submerged for up to 18 consecutive days without needing to surface or snorkel for oxygen. By burning liquid oxygen and diesel fuel in a closed-cycle environment, the Stirling engine operates with near-total silence and a minimal thermal signature, making the A26 virtually indistinguishable from the background noise of the sea. In the context of the recent 2026 cable sabotages, the most critical feature of the A26 is undoubtedly its multi-mission portal. Located in the bow between the torpedo tubes, this 1.5-meter-wide hangar serves as a versatile interface for the next generation of seabed warfare. As evidenced by the suspicious movements of vessels like the Russian-linked Fitberg and Vezhin in early January, the threat to underwater infrastructure often comes from civilian masked ships deploying divers or small submersibles. The A26 is designed to counter this specifically. It can lie motionless on the seabed, perfectly camouflaged, while deploying Swedish Special Operations Group divers or autonomous underwater vehicles through the portal. These unmanned systems can patrol hundreds of kilometers of fiber optic cables and energy pipelines, providing a persistent eyes-on capability that surface ships cannot match. This capacity to transition from a reconnaissance platform to an interceptor of subsurface sabotage is what differentiates the A-26 from any other conventional submarine currently in production. Beyond technical specifications, the A-26 represents a new era of industrial and strategic cooperation between Sweden and its neighbors. The decision by the Polish government in late 2025 to select the A-26 design for its Orca submarine program over competing offers from Germany and France has created a unified technological axis in the Baltic. By sharing the same platform, the Swedish and Polish navies can integrate their sensor data and maintenance logistics, effectively creating a subsurface iron wall that stretches from the Swedish coast to the shores of Central Europe. This cooperation is vital as the Russian Federation continues to modernize its Baltic fleet in Kaliningrad, deploying Argus-D underwater drones intended to map and potentially disrupt the very infrastructure Sweden is fighting to protect. The A-26 provides the necessary deterrent to ensure that any hostile action beneath the waves will be detected and neutralized before it can escalate into a national crisis. For the Swedish public, the development of the A-26 is a testament to the concept of total defense, a doctrine that integrates military readiness with civil resilience. The realization that a single severed cable could disrupt the financial systems and heating grids of Stockholm has brought the importance of naval power home to the average citizen. The A-26 is not an offensive weapon of expansion. It is a defensive tool of sovereignty. It embodies the Swedish military identity: quiet, highly efficient, and technologically superior. As the global security architecture fluctuates and traditional superpowers turn their gaze elsewhere, the ability of a nation of 10 million people to produce world-leading maritime technology remains a source of immense national stability. The geopolitical shocks of early 2026 have proven that the era of taking maritime security for granted is over. The transition of the Baltic into a contested zone of gray market ships and deniable sabotage requires a specialized response. The A26 Blekinge and its sister ship, the Skåne, are designed to win the war of shadows that is already being fought. By prioritizing signature management and subsurface versatility, Sweden has ensured that its voice in NATO is backed by a credible and independent run-day capability. The Swedish Krona invested today in the silence of the Stirling engine is a direct payment toward the future security of the nation's digital and physical borders. In the deep, cold silence of the Baltic, the A-26 is more than a submarine. It is the ultimate guardian of the Swedish way of life in an increasingly unpredictable world.